We are live. We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are live. And in the words of Tony Stark from Iron Man 2, oh, it's good to be back. And this morning on the Huddle, I want to share 7 of the biggest mistakes that you need to avoid, not as just as a YouTuber, but as a live streamer, so you don't cost yourself views, you don't cost yourself growth. Most importantly, you don't cost yourself credibility with your audience. And we're starting right now. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Huddle. I'm your host, Walter Strong. If you're new here and you want to get tips and tools on how to make live streaming easy for you as a beginner, I welcome you to the show. And as I said this morning, I want to share with you 7 of the biggest mistakes that you need to avoid as a YouTuber. You need to avoid as a content creator. You need to avoid as a live streamer, so you don't cost yourself views, you don't cost yourself growth, and you don't cost yourself credibility with your audience. And so this morning, it is just so good to be back in the saddle of the Huddle. And so before we get into the content, I want to look and see who's in the chat joining us. If you are joining me on YouTube or LinkedIn, let me know in the chat where you're watching me from. Give me a hashtag Team Live. And if you're watching the replay, give me a hashtag Team Replay. Let me take these glasses off and be able to see the screen much clearer so that way we can get into the content. Oh, yeah, I love it. I love it. My dear sister Florence Donald from Equip Institute joining me on YouTube. And if you're on LinkedIn, let me know in the chat where you're watching me as well. So without further ado, hey, let's get into the content and talk about these 7 mistakes, not just ordinary mistakes, but I consider the biggest mistakes that I have made as a content creator. And it's taken me some time to learn from these mistakes because, hey, newsflash, if you didn't know, as humans, we're not perfect. And sometimes I suffer from perfectionism. I have to confess to you. This is going to be one of those live streaming real talks this morning. Since we're back in the saddle, I want to confess to you, I suffer from perfectionism, and I'm recovering. I'm recovering. I know this may not be AAA, and I'm a recovering alcoholic. Oh, wrong meeting. This is the live streaming recovery perfectionism meeting. So if that's you, let me know in the chat if you've been suffering from some mistakes lately, and it's been getting you down. It's been affecting your views. It's affecting your growth. It's affecting your credibility with the audience that you're trying to develop. And so without further ado, hey, let's get into these mistakes. Enough of me rambling. Hey, the first mistake that I have made that I consider a big mistake that we as live streamers and content creators or YouTubers, whatever title you want to put on yourself, or the name that mom's called you on the day you were born, is poor planning. Poor planning. As content creators, we need to be mindful. As live streamers, we need to be mindful that we are planning properly. Because if we're not planning properly, we can end up planning poorly. And one of the ways as live streamers where planning properly is important is having a good run of show. A good run of show. Now you say, Walter, what is a run of show? Run of show is an outline, a outline that how you're going to go live on your live stream, have an opening hook, greet your audience, let your audience know what the topic is, hit those 3 points. In those 3 points, maybe engage your audience, and then give a call to action or a summary and conclude your show. But where the planning really gets important in that run of show Maybe you want to be able to make sure that that runner show is really focusing not just on the live audience, but it's focusing on the replay value of those who watch your live stream. Because, newsflash, if you didn't know, if you've been live streaming for a moment, you will come to understand that a large portion of your live streamers will come not from the general live audience, it will come from the replay viewers. So it's important that we plan properly. And I have to confess to you, dear Auntie Denise Jordan from This and That, who's just joining us in the live chat. Good morning, ma'am. That I've not always planned properly for the replay value. There's been times where I've been focusing more on the live audience and not the replay. And then I struggle and I wonder why the views are not there from a replay standpoint. And I had to come to the conclusion after taking a step back for a while that I wasn't planning properly when it comes in my run of show for replay value for my team replay people, not just team live, but we have team replay who watches our live streams. Another important area where I was not planning properly was in the repurposing of the content. Let me show you how we can mess up in this area, especially if you're a type of person who likes to talk and you are extroverted. It's interesting. I was sharing with my wife that a large portion of people that I know on YouTube are introverts, but when you watch their content, you would never know that they're introverts. But me, on the other hand, I'm an extrovert, and so I end up talking a lot. And instead of me just hitting the points, boom, 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 and moving to the next, I like to elaborate. But sometimes I elaborate too much. I elaborate too much, and as a result, it can hurt the repurposing of your run of show and affect your replay value, and then it affects your repurposed content, and then you're wondering why it's not getting views. This is a big mistake that in my 4 years of live streaming, but in particular since the pandemic, that I had to take the step back and say, Walter, you understand the concept of repurposing, you understand the concept of runner shows, but this is some mistakes you have to correct. And so taking a step back has helped me to do so. And so let me know in the chat if you have been an individual okay, there we go. If you've been an individual who's kind of suffered from this, let me know in the chat. Let me just jump over. Oh, yeah. Want to say good morning to my man. Hit that like button. Tech Troublemaker in the house. And as I said, my dear Auntie, welcome back, ma'am. Good to see you from This and That. And then, God is good. I don't want to turn this into a church moment, but this to have my dear niece Latasia Strong from Detroit, Michigan, in the house. Oh, good morning. Good morning. She's my twin on my birthday. We share both the same birthday. So truly, this is a great holiday treat. Keep those comments coming. Keep those comments coming. Let's move over to the second mistake that we as content creators can make. The second one is bad titles. Bad titles on that we make for our content for live streaming, bad titles for our shorts, titles for our short form content. When we make bad titles in this competitive, noisy platform of live streaming and YouTube and social media, wherever you post content, if you don't have a compelling title, people will go right past your content. And it'll become frustrating to you over time that you put all this work and all this energy into this content, whether if it's live stream, long form content, or short form content, and nobody clicks. And this is a mistake that I have made on more than one occasion. But after taking a step back and really looking at this from a critical perspective, not just as a content creator, but as a regular viewer, I said, okay, when we get back into the saddle and we get back into doing the huddle, we got to make sure that we're making compelling titles that causes my viewers to want to click and to watch the content that I'm presenting. Another important part about bad titles is when they're not concise and they're too long. Again, because I'm an extrovert, I tend to talk and I elaborate a lot on things. I even see it in my writing and even in my titles. And YouTube gives us a certain amount of space to be able to put a compelling title together and in the description so that the viewer can see it, grab their attention, click on it, and start to watch it. But what happens is, you have so much information going in your mind, in your head, you end up writing this big title or in between big title, and then as a result, the views and the click-through rate is not demonstrating because it's not grabbing the person's attention. You have all these impressions in your YouTube, but your click-through rate is so low. And as I was seeing this, I said, okay, going forward, not only does the title have to be compelling, but the title has to be concise. Even before I was getting ready to come on live this morning, I was looking at a couple of shorts on the YouTube feed, and I was looking at the differences of individuals who had over 1 million views on their shorts, individuals who had thousands of views on their shorts, and individuals who had maybe a couple of hundreds of views. And what the common thing that I was seeing on, yes, the individual, depending on how well known they are to the audience, that plays a factor. But what I was seeing as a consistent theme was their titles were very concise. Their titles were very concise, whether if they were a well-known entertainer, if they're a well-known content creator, if they're just a person just starting out on YouTube, their titles are very concise. Let me know in the chat. Is this something you struggle with as a content creator on YouTube? Chat, Auntie, Florence, even you, LaDeja. I know you put a lot of content out and to help promote your business, especially for the holidays. Do you suffer and fall victim to not being concise in putting your title together so you can promote your product or services that you're trying to reach your audience? Because if you do, this could be a key indicator why, my third point, why it's not being found in search of Google or YouTube. When you have a title that's just so long, people scan on their mobile phones. They scan on their mobile phones looking for solutions for the problem that they have. And they're scanning and they're looking for a concise title. But if our title is not concise, they keep going. There are people who are scanning, not just on desktop, but on mobile, looking to resolve a question that they need an answer for. But if the title is too long, they're just going to keep going. And as a result, we can't be found in search because the person who has the compelling title, the person who has the concise title are going to rank more in search. Now, if I'm wrong on this, let me know in the chat. Keep those comments coming. If you're watching me on YouTube, let me know your thoughts on this. And if you're on LinkedIn, let me know in the chat on LinkedIn. Let's have a discussion here. But this is part of the reason, as I was looking at my content over this last year, why my views were really suffering, why my growth was suffering. The credibility that I had, what the audience I have and the audience that I was trying to get, it was suffering because of having bad titles. But in this, I on a scale of 1 to 10 and putting this first live stream out and putting a couple of shorts out this week, I'm moving in the right direction. How about yourself? Let me know in the chat. Mistake number 3. Not only bad titles can hurt your live streams and your content as a YouTuber, but poor thumbnails. Poor thumbnails that demonstrate poor imagery, poor font size, the wrong font size, and having the wrong colors in your thumbnails. Let me tell you something. When I first started doing YouTube, Oh man, my thumbnails were terrible. And talk about background removal. And I would just throw a picture up and you would see a picture of my kitchen with my refrigerator, and had no clue or concept that I needed to use a background removal so I could have a decent photo for a thumbnail. And yes, over the years I've gotten better, but when you make or have type of live stream shows that you do every week, there you can fall into the trap of kind of using the same type of thumbnail format, color, font size, image change here or there. But a person who I was speaking to on LinkedIn said something very important to me that just kind of hit me upside the head as I was preparing to do this live stream and getting back into the saddle. He says, you have some great content, Walter. You really do. On a scale of 1 to 10, man, I give you a 8. Your content is great. He says, but here's the area of growth, of improvement that I really hope that you will take heart to matter and really try to work on. He says, as I start to watch some of your other content, a lot of your thumbnails and your fonts and your images and your color, they were pretty much all the same. And after a while, I couldn't tell the difference of what videos I was watching. And after a while, it just said, okay, well, okay, I've watched enough. Do you kind of have that type of problem when you do your thumbnails, where you kind of have the same font, image, and color, and the same pattern of thumbnails, and your viewers can't tell what video they're watching? And you add the fact that your title is not compelling, and you add the fact that your title is not concise. Let me know in the chat if this is an issue for you. Let's just jump over here to the chat. I see a couple of comments. Oh yeah, I'll have to work my way up. I want to say good morning to Mr. Paul Andre De Vera in the house on the West Coast, man. Good morning, sir. Start this one. And Auntie says, Walter, you're killing it. You're killing me. No, 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 no. I don't want to kill you. I love that song by Roberta Black, ma'am. Killing Me Softly. But then when my man Luther, God bless his soul, Luther Vandross made that song Killing Me Softly. Oh, he had a brother crying. Crying. Oh, so I want to kill you softly, Auntie. I want to kill you softly. Auntie, let me continue. I'm sorry, Auntie. I went over. She says, you're killing me softly. I have been waiting to the last minute for my title and my thumbnail, and they don't always end up the best. Yes, ma'am. That's a mistake. Thank you, Auntie. Planning your titles, planning your topic in your thumbnail, and in no way am I trying to be a Sean Cannell clone. I'm not trying to be a cheap imitation of Sean Cannell. I'm not. Please understand. But I've learned this principle, just like you, that you can end up having that same type of issue on our own content. And why is we not having technical difficulties? There we go. Yeah, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. And I've had that same issue. Boom. Okay, cool. Okay, let's go back here. Yeah, perfect right here. I've made that same mistake and then wondering why the content is not getting the response that I hope for, because I put so much equity in it. And we got to really work on that. Want to say good morning to Axton Jackson, Frank Jackson in the house this morning. Auntie says, yeah, just giving love to the Huddle community. All right. So this is 3 mistakes we've covered. Let's continue. Boom. We continue by simply encouraging you, those of you in the live chat who've just joined us or have been watching us for a while, make sure you click that thumbs up button for me. Hit that like button, hit that share button as well, because I'm learning when you click the like button and when you share, the content on one of those other social media platforms that you have. YouTube takes notes of that, and then this just pushes the live stream out. And if you're just joining me for the first time and you haven't subscribed to the Huddle with Walter Strong III, where we share tips and tools to make live streaming easy for beginners, I want to encourage you, hit that subscribe button, click the alert notification button, and join us in the conversation on the Huddle. All right, let's continue. Mistake number 4. You add the fact that if you had bad titles, poor thumbnail, if you don't have quality content, I've kind of looked at some of the content that I have made over the last year. And again, a lot of the content I realize I make, it's for beginners. I've come to the understanding that it's for beginners and those who are advancing to more into live stream, but it's more for the beginner. But as I looked at a lot of the content over the last year that I was making, that was kind of all over the place, it was average. In my opinion, it was average. And I had to base that evaluation based on the lack of growth that the channel was getting with new subscribers, with getting new views. I had to base that off of that evidence, and it was average. And I said, okay, content that I've made over the last year, it's not making a human connection with new people. It's not making a human connection. It's not building trust with new viewers. It's not encouraging change in people. I've had, I stepped away for a while, and I had quite a few individuals in the Huddle community kind of reach out to me either through text messages or chat messages, through emails, or just through video messaging of meetings that we kind of had one-on-one. And they said, when are you going to come back? When are you going to come back? You've created a void in the Huddle not being on every Saturday morning. I understand you're kind of doing your thing over here with this other channel that you're trying to grow. But when I look at when I look at the landscape of YouTube and being able to help new individuals or existing members who may be struggling with how to live stream better, you've created a void by you stepping away. And I took that to heart. I remember a Bible verse. Again, I don't want to turn this into church, but there's a Bible verse where I think it's Mary, and she's at the temple dedicating the baby Jesus, and two individuals in particular, Simeon and the prophet Anna, begins to share about their encounter in meeting the Messiah as the baby Jesus, and they begin to share and to prophesy over his life, over the parents' life. And the Bible says Mary pondered these things in her heart, because there would come a time where she would know that these things would come true. And I say that to say, as I was listening to those in the Huddle community kind of speaking and sharing about the impact that the Huddle has had over their lives over the last few years, I pondered it and said, okay, you've established a human connection with an established audience. You've established a connection and built trust with people with this channel, and you've helped to encourage change with people. You need to get back in the saddle and continue that with new viewers, and the content has to go to the next level. It has to go to the next level, though it's for an audience for beginners. The content has to be of quality. The content has to be evergreen. The content has to be par excellence that encourages change in a viewer. So that's a mistake that we as content creators have to be careful of and avoid. And then if we make that mistake, we have to be honest and say, hey, my content is average. It's average. And I got to get better on making better quality content, whether if this content is live streaming or shorts or short form video. Number 5 mistake that I have made, not being consistent. And what I mean by not being consistent, I was uploading every week faithfully or every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. But the brand message over a period of time wasn't consistent, because one minute I would be over on doing a live stream talking about personal branding. I would be talking about promoting your live streams and getting into websites and email marketing. And all of these things are good. And all of these things we should be doing. But what was happening, I was so all over the place with that, in that direction. I strayed away from making content that was consistent with a brand message for beginners in live streaming. And when I saw that, by taking a step back, I began to understand why there was a dip in growth in the channel. And I said, okay, we're going to get back in the saddle and we're going to make sure that we're consistent with a brand message. We're consistent in creating content that shares tips, tools to make live streaming easy for beginners, even for existing individuals who may be creating content but are struggling in this area. And sometimes we got to go back to the basics. And yes, uploading, being consistent in uploading and our content and going live. My question to those of you who are watching me live, those of you who are on YouTube or LinkedIn, how about you? Are you being consistent? Maybe you're being consistent in uploading content, but are you being consistent in your brand message? Are you being consistent in the brand message and trusting the process, that you'll see the views, you'll see the growth, and you will build credibility with existing and new viewers? And if you're not being consistent, this could be a mistake that's affecting you as a YouTuber. The content that you're creating is suffering because of not being consistent. Number 6, YouTube analytics. YouTube analytics. You know, as I honestly took an assessment of how often I was really into my YouTube analytics. You know, I was doing it for a while, once a week. I'm sorry, once a week. Yeah, right. The devil is a liar. I was doing it once a month, and it went from once a month to once a quarter. And then I went from once a quarter to once every 6 months. And as a result, things like click-through rates and average view durations and understanding traffic source were things, concepts that I understood just from a head knowledge, but I didn't understand from a heart aspect of how important these things were. And so as a result, not really digging in my YouTube analytics, the lack of growth, the lack of views demonstrated it. It demonstrated. I had no one. I can't blame YouTube. YouTube is giving me this tool. We can't blame YouTube. YouTube is giving us the tool called YouTube Analytics. Now, let's be honest. Some of us on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe a 9, like Paul with the SEO video show. He may be a 9 when it comes to analytics, but someone like myself, tech, and the rest of us, we may be on a 3. But it still doesn't change that we can't be making a mistake and not digging into our analytics and finding the issues of why we're getting so many impressions and our click-through rate is low. Why people are not watching our videos or our live streams to the end, and as a result, our average view duration is low. We're getting a ton of views, but we don't understand the traffic source of what it's coming from, and then the views dip and go the next month, and we don't understand where those views that we got the month before, because we don't understand the traffic source. Is it in suggested search? Is it on the homepage? Is it coming from something else? We're not taking the time to do that, and that's a mistake that I have made, and I'm quite sure you have made. But going forward and into 2024, You're definitely going to see the Huddle um, definitely pushing into YouTube analytics. Hey, do me a favor, click that thumbs up button. If you're just joining me here on the Huddle, we're talking about 7 big mistakes that we as YouTubers, as live streamers, need to avoid so we don't cost ourselves views, we don't cost ourselves growth, and we don't cost ourselves credibility, not just with an existing audience, but the new audience we're trying to reach. So click that thumbs up button, share this on your favorite social media platform. And if you have not subscribed to the Huddle with Walter Strong III, hit that subscribe button, click that alert notification, and join the conversation in the live chat. The final mistake I want to share with you, if you, and I appreciate each and every one of you who have stayed to the end, a part of Team Live, just let me know in the chat. Those of you who have just joining me, but if you have stayed to the end, give me a hashtag Team Live in the chat for me, because this 7th mistake, if you take nothing else, this is the mistake that I want you to not make. And if you've made it, learn from it, move on from it. Learn from this mistake and move on from this mistake. Measuring your progress by the wrong things. And I have a short out that's on this topic. One person who saw this short on another platform, because I was posting it on not just YouTube, but I posted it on a couple other platforms because I was wearing a suit. The person said I was preaching a Sunday message on content creation. And I just said, okay, if that's what you got from it based on what I wore that in this video, fine. But this is what I want you to take from this mistake. Measuring your progress from the wrong things. Wrong things such as subscribers. Wrong things such as people that you view as a competitor. Now, none of us are in competition with one another, but sometimes our perception of how we see and watch people on YouTube by the niche that we're in, or niche, or whatever you want to call it, we can end up viewing individuals as a competitor, and we measure our progress. I'll give you an example. On platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, a lot of people I'm connected with, they'll share their successes that they've accomplished through TubeBuddy of how many views that they got. Hey, I got 25,000 views, and it'll be like a TubeBuddy post. Quite sure you've seen anything. Hey, I got 6,000 subscribers this month, and through a TubeBuddy post. And what'll happen is you'll see that so much, and you're not that you're trying to be envy or jealous of someone, but because you see that it's constantly before your eyes. The Bible says the eyes are the windows of the soul, and you constantly keep seeing that. And then maybe you go into your analytics and you don't see the same type of success. You start measuring yourself based on what's constantly before you in those little TubeBuddy posts on what small accomplishment. Or you're measuring your progress based upon other fellow creators you know. This is a mistake that will cause you to get frustrated. Measuring your progress by other fellow creators, people you consider competitors, subscribers that you would like to have, will cause you to be frustrated. It will cause you to be tempted to want to quit. It will frustrate you and tempt you to the point where you want to walk away from your channel. Now, sometimes stepping back and walking away for a while is a good thing. You know, the Huddle hasn't been live for 4 months. So I had to step away, keep creating content in a different form of content through a second channel I created, just to keep myself in front of a camera and not losing certain skills that I've learned. But stepping away kind of opened my eyes to some of these mistakes. And so maybe you are in the grind of creating content faithfully every week. You're in the grind creating shorts, doing reels on IG faithfully. You're faithfully going live every Tuesday, like tech. You're faithfully going live every Wednesday, like Auntie Denise with this and that with Denise Jordan. You're faithful going live every Friday evening at 6:30 p.m. with Power, Productivity, and Planning with Equip Institute with Florence Donald. You're faithful in going live at 3 p.m. East Coast time with the SEO video show like Paul Andre de Vera. You're faithful, but maybe you're in the grind and maybe you need to take a step back to find out why the progress of your channel, of your content is not there. So that way you don't fall victim to burnout, you don't get frustrated, you don't get tempted to walk away. Progress needs to be measured then, not by these things, but it needs to be measured by going back to YouTube analytics. What your YouTube analytics is sharing you in the last 28 days, your YouTube analytics is sharing to you in the last 90 days or a year. And it most importantly needs to be measured by the feedback that you get from your audience in your comment section, in your likes and shares. That's how our progress needs to be measured. So, summary: avoid these 7 mistakes so that you don't cost yourself views, you don't cost yourself growth and credibility with not just your existing audience, but a new audience. Poor planning, bad titles, poor thumbnails, average content, not being consistent, not being in your YouTube analytics enough, and measuring your progress by the wrong things. You avoid these 7 mistakes, you're going to see some growth on your channel in 2024. And so there you have the content and my question of the day that I want to share with you, that you would be honest with me. Be honest. I want to turn this into a church service and ask you to come to an altar and to confess. But I want you to be honest, because 2024, I want this to be not only my year, but your year. What is the biggest mistake you are making right now that is costing you views, that's costing you growth and credibility on your channel? Let me know in the chat. That's the content. So let me just go ahead and take this down. And I want to, okay, what time? Oh, 37 minutes. Really? Okay. I want to get back into some more questions, some comments and thoughts. Auntie, hit star here. I saw you were with the suit. That was what let me know you were back. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Yeah. What do we got here? Team Live. Yes. Team Live. Yes. Team Live. Yes. Team Live in the house. And those of you who are watching the replay up to this point, hey, give us a hashtag Team Replay. We've been talking about 7 of the biggest mistakes that you and I need to avoid as YouTubers, as content creators or live streamers, whatever your title is, so that we don't cost ourselves views, growth, and credibility on our channel. Oh, yeah, giving some love in the Huddle community. That's what it's all about. All right. Here's an interesting comment from Auntie. She says, I teach homemaking, which fills up 3 buckets: cooking, learning, and laundry, and and routines associated with each. I'm live streaming every Wednesday night now. Took the summer off. Hey, Auntie, and let me know, by you taking the summer off, how did it rejuvenate you? How did it shift your perspective when you got back in the saddle and went live again? I tell you, and stepping away in these last 4 months, and again, not that I wasn't making content, but I was making content, on my other YouTube channel that talks about NBA sports talk as a fan, from a fan's perspective. When I began to really look at the huddle and the things that worked, but the things that needed to be improved on because of these mistakes, it definitely gave me the courage to say, okay, you can do this. You can do this. You know me, I'm a Marvel fan. Had to find me some theme music to get myself ready as I got ready to go live. So I had to pull up the theme music from Amazing Spider-Man 2 when he comes back to be Spider-Man because of a villain that's terrorizing the New York City. And it's interesting, before he comes back, because of his absence, a little boy that he had rescued in the movie comes watching the villain who's terrorizing. It's interesting. This guy has all this powerful stuff and he has machine guns and he's shooting and stuff. Here, this little boy has a Spider-Man suit, puts a Spider-Man mask on, and he confronts him. And then the villain says, "Oh, you're Spider-Man." Mom is screaming out her head. Not one cop is trying to grab the kid. But all of a sudden, everyone's attention turns from the villain and the little boy, and they see Spider-Man swinging back. And I said, okay, it takes courage to get back into something that you love and that you're passionate about and wanting to get it right. So that's the point I wanted to take. Want to say good morning to a first timer, and I hope it's not the last time. Creativity, creatively miss me, decorating on a budget. Good morning, man. Thank you for joining the huddle, and I pray that you have got a nugget from one of these 7 mistakes that will encourage you to grow and to do better on your channel. So thank you for joining me here on the huddle. Thank you for joining the huddle community. I see another one of your comments. I don't want to miss any comments. I want to thank my live streamer Florence from Equip Institute helping out this morning. To be honest, I am not sure what I'm doing wrong. Well, ma'am, I hear you. I hear you. Sometimes I over these last 6 months to 6 months, I was in that same type of mental fog where I was really in the grind trying to create content because I wanted to give value to an audience that I not only had established, but an audience that I was trying to grow and to reach. And I just said, I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. I'm putting out content and I'm posting content, I'm uploading content, and the results that I'm getting are not reflective in the sweat equity that I put into. And so sometimes taking a step back, or what has been very helpful to us, those in the huddle community, ma'am, is being able to share and to talk with another fellow creator, bounce off some things off of another fellow creator, and take that feedback as honest, constructive feedback that will help you to get in the direction. But we can all be there, man. We can all be there. We all can be there from time to time. Florence says, welcoming our dear sister. Thank you again. And so again, these are 7 mistakes that you and I need to avoid making. And maybe you've made them. But I am determined not to make them again. Especially number 7. If I take nothing else, measuring my progress by the wrong things. Now, the other mistakes that I want to encourage you to really work on, and maybe you got it down pat. Maybe you got it down pat when it comes to titles, thumbnails, and topics. In 2024, you're going to hear about helping live streamers for beginners, but you're going to be hearing about making sure we have a great topic on live streaming, a great topic on homemaking, a great topic on productivity, a great topic on being creative as a creator like our sister, a great topic on YouTube how videos like tech and SEO videos like Andre, a great topic, a great title, not just a great title, a compelling and concise title, a great thumbnail. And if those things are accomplished and we measure our progress by the right things, by YouTube analytics and the audience that our feedback gives, 2024, mark my words, more views, growth on the channel, and credibility with a new and existing audience. So that's the content. I don't want to hold y'all up. We've hit the 45-minute mark. Again, if this has been great value to you, give me a hashtag great value in the chat for me. Those of you watching the replay, give me a hashtag team replay in the comments section and let me know, has this been great value to you in the comments section? And if you're new and if you haven't subscribed to the Huddle, I hope I've given you enough value. Number one, to have you come back next Saturday at 11 a.m. And I've given you enough value to say, oh, I got to subscribe to this channel and click the alert notification button so I can be alerted when brother go live. I can be able to watch him. So that's the content. We're going to get ready to get on out of here. Boom, there we go. Getting back used to working a few things here. So I want to thank each and every one of you for being on the live. I want to thank my aunt, my niece from Detroit. The days you're joining, I'm going to definitely give you a call later, sweetheart, just to say hi. Hope you and Paris are doing well in the family. And so I want to thank each and every one of you. We will see you next Saturday at 11 a.m. on the Huddle. We're going to talk about run a show. That was one of the mistakes that we talked about. When you do poor planning on how to do a run of show, my dear sister, you were sharing, you're not sure about what you're doing wrong. We're going to talk about having a run of show. Do you have a run of show that helps you to create content for your viewers? That's what we're going to get into next Saturday at 11 a.m. Talk to you soon.